There's a city where debt hums louder than traffic, where the night shift never ends and daylight only exposes the overdraft. In an abandoned municipal complex, 11 strangers sign away the right to be ordinary. They've each been told the same thing. When the program, erase what ruins you. No masks, no candy colors. Only cameras that never blink and rules that feel like moral riddles staged by a bureaucrat who dreams in algorithms. The program converts social order into puzzles. A boardroom without chairs, a market without currency, a courtroom without a judge. Every challenge is a mirror polished to a blade. Alliances form around hunger, not trust. Confession becomes currency. And the audience, the unseen investors, the data brokers, the voyeurs who wager on human thresholds, adjust the odds with every vote. As scarcity tightens, the games peel back the soft language of equality and force choices that define who eats, who labors, who speaks. Our players learn that survival here isn't about outrunning danger, but outliving their own narratives. The hero who needs to be admired, the parent who can't forgive themselves, the worker who only knows obedience. The season spirals through escalating trials that model wage ladders, eviction courts, and public shaming economies, until the final tableau, a negotiation where the price of freedom is measured in someone else's breath. Each episode sharpens the question, if systems are games, what does winning make of us? The air tastes faintly of copper, as though old coins were melting in the vents, and each echo in the distance lands like a countdown no one agreed to start. Somewhere beyond these walls, machinery hums, a low, steady vibration that seems to sync with their heartbeats, tightening and releasing in invisible intervals. The space feels engineered to blur time, to strip away the anchors that tell people who they are and where they stand. Amina Rahman, 34, used to carry constitutional law in her throat like a hymn. Now she counts ceiling stains in a hostel that rents hope by the week. Her firm died in a smear so efficient it felt machine-made. Bot storms, falsified invoices, a whisper in the right donor's ear. Perfectionism, once her shield, calcified into a looped prosecution inside her skull. Exhibit, the missed grant. Exhibit B, the deposition she replayed until sleep frayed. Tariq Aziz, 27, taught reflexes to answer faster than grief. The crypto crash didn't just wipe savings. It erased the scoreboard that proved he mattered. He armors panic with meme sarcasm, but his thumb shakes when he scrolls phantom leaderboards in airplane mode. Lala Muradi, 41, cleans rooms under borrowed names. She maps exits before entering. Geometry learned fling a marriage that had more informants than kisses. Jonah Kepler, 52, once ran crews that lifted steel. Automation reduced his authority to an aerolite. He fears invisibility more than death, because at least death is witnessed. They wait under fluorescent drag in a municipal hall scrubbed of insignia, a place built to process citizens now repurposed to process hunger. Cameras stare from smoke domes, polite as clerks. The invitation promised restoration. The contract's print was so small it may as well have been prayer. No one speaks. Silence here feels like the only asset that hasn't been securitized. Somewhere a relay clicks, metal meeting decision, and the door breathes. The air tastes faintly of copper, as though old coins were melting in the vents, and each echo in the distance lands like a countdown no one agreed to start. Somewhere beyond these walls, machinery hums, a low, steady vibration that seems to sync with their heartbeats, tightening and releasing in invisible intervals. The space feels engineered to blur time, to strip away the anchors that tell people who they are and where they stand. The second arrival wave brings another set of lives shaped by different wounds, but cut from the same cloth of scarcity. Vera Santiago, 48, a former nurse whose license was revoked after a medication error caused by triple shifts, still hears the flat line in her dreams. She holds herself upright with the rigid grace of someone who believes collapse is a public indecency. Malik Dre, 23, once a delivery rider for an app that promised freedom, now wears 2 scars from muggings and 1 from frostbite. His faith in upward mobility packed into a worn messenger bag. Sophie Glass, 36, an adjunct lecturer of philosophy who aged out of her department's budget, clutches a cracked e-reader like scripture. She hides the unpaid eviction notice folded inside its case. Victor Harrow, 61, the son of a miner, a foreman in the same shaft until it was declared unsafe for profit margins, now walks with a permanent limp from a collapse the company called an act of God. They trickle in with the same sealed expressions, glances calibrated to skim over faces without engagement. The hall smells faintly of antiseptic and dust, an abandoned bureaucracy's perfume. A vending machine hums in the corner, lit but empty, a cruel promise in glass. Footsteps echo differently here, slower, deliberate, as though the floor were recording weight and pace for later judgment. A low screen embedded in the far wall scrolls a looping phrase. All games are fair when all players agree to the rules. No one knows yet who wrote it, or whether the rules are finished being written. The words crawl across their thoughts like a contagion, each of them quietly rehearsing the bargains they might be willing to make. Somewhere, above or below, a metallic clang rings once, like the strike of a starting bell muffled in layers of concrete. The steel door exhales open, revealing a corridor lit in bands of cold white and deep shadow, as if the architect feared the comfort of continuity. The group moves in hesitant synchrony, steps echoing into the unseen. Along the walls, framed behind scratched plexiglass, hang documents that look like government forms but are written in a cipher of symbols and fractured words. Half application, half poem, all unreadable. At intervals, speakers emit faint bursts of white noise, punctuated by clicks that feel like surveillance adjusting its focus. They emerge into a chamber wide enough to hold a bus depot, the ceiling lost in darkness. In the center stands a long table of brushed steel, bolted to the floor, with no chairs. Above it, a single camera lens blinks red. A voice, modulated into genderless neutrality, greets them. Welcome, candidates. Your consent was recorded upon entry. You will play to win back what you have lost. You will play to define what you deserve. No names are used. The voice reads a list of stakes. Debts erased, charges dropped, credentials restored. Each line a scalpel carving away the facade of detachment. Amina's jaw tightens at professional reinstatement. Vera flinches at legal absolution. And Tariq's eyes flicker at digital assets returned. The table shifts subtly, a tremor that feels alive, and 10 rectangular slots appear along its length. From the ceiling, 10 envelopes drop in unison, landing in those slots like verdicts. No one moves to claim them. The voice gives no instruction. The silence becomes the first unspoken challenge. It's Sophie who reaches first, the sound of paper tearing breaking whatever fragile stalemate had formed. Inside her envelope, a card printed with a single phrase, the price of bread. One by one, the others retrieve theirs, each bearing the same words. Malik turns his over, searching for hidden ink. Lala tilts hers under the light, as if an image might surface. The voice resumes, explaining the rules with clinical brevity. Before them is a scale large enough to stand on, connected to a chute sealed by a heavy hatch. Each player has a quota, represented not in coins or bills, but in weight. Bread will fall through the chute when their quota is met. The catch: they may only use items currently on their person to reach the target weight. A scramble begins, subtle at first, as people pat pockets, unzip bags, and gauge each other's belongings. Jonas sets his steel watch on the scale. Tariq adds a portable charger. Vera, reluctantly, her wedding ring. Sophie's e-reader thuds onto the metal, screen flickering from the impact. The weight creeps toward the quota, but they are short. Eyes dart to Malik's messenger bag. His hesitation is brief but telling. He empties it to reveal gloves, a scarf, and a thermos. Still short. Then, without prompt, Victor unlaces one boot. the metal brace inside, clanging as it hits. The hatch opens. Bread, dense, dark, steaming, spills onto the table. The smell is intoxicating. The voice says nothing about how it will be divided. The bread sits in its heap like an unspoken dare. Hunger sharpens the air. They haven't been offered food since arrival. Amina measures the faces around the table. The tightness at Vera's mouth, the restless shift of Malik's weight, Sophie's hand hovering just above the crust as if testing permission. Without rules, every gesture becomes a gamble. Jonah is the first to act, tearing a piece and chewing without pause. The others follow, some breaking off morsels, others taking hunks as if afraid the pile will vanish. No one thanks anyone. No one mentions the items sacrificed. The bread is dense with seeds, heavy on the tongue, a laborer's loaf. Between bites, they glance at the now empty chute, as though another ration might drop if they look long enough. The voice finally returns. Allocation reflects values. Values reveal hierarchy. Hierarchy decides survival. The lights flicker once, twice, then stabilize. A side door grinds open, revealing a narrow stairwell. Painted along the first riser in chipped black letters is the phrase "Level 1 complete." Malik wipes crumbs from his hands and slips his scarf back into the bag, his eyes guarded. Lala slides the bread crust she saved into her coat pocket, an instinct that predates these games. No one speaks as they climb. Their silence feels heavier than the steel door they leave behind. Somewhere above, faint music drifts, an old waltz, warped and slowed, the melody unraveling like a memory, struggling to stay whole. The stairwell deposits them into a smaller room, its walls lined with mirrors that distort rather than reflect. Faces lengthen, eyes widen, jaws taper into unnatural angles. In the center, a circular pit is filled with objects, folders, clipboards, rubber stamps, and small rectangular cards like library checkouts. The voice instructs them to file a petition. Each player must construct a case for why they should remain in the program, using the materials provided. The catch: no one may advocate for themselves directly. They must build petitions for other players. It's a trap draped in cooperation. Sophie selects Victor, noting the collapse injury. Vera chooses Amina for her legal background. Tarek picks Malik, citing his youth and resilience. The choices are revealing, alliances suggested in strokes of pen. As they work, the mirrors flicker, showing not distortions but real images, snippets from their pasts. Amina in court, Tarek before a glowing monitor, Lala boarding a bus with a single suitcase. The visions vanish before anyone can react. One by one, they present their petitions aloud, voices carrying a strange sincerity that feels too fragile for this place. The voice listens without interruption, then announces the result. 2 petitions are rejected for insufficient merit. The players they represent, Vera and Malik, are instructed to leave the room by separate doors. Gasps and whispers ripple, but no one moves to intervene. The rejected walk out alone, their reflections stretching grotesquely in the warped glass until the door seals shut. The remaining 9 stand in a silence thick with calculation. Whatever camaraderie the petitions might have sparked now hangs as a liability. The voice declares the next challenge, the wage ladder. Against the far wall, 5 narrow planks rise vertically, each affixed with handholds spaced unevenly. Above each plank hangs a bag, its contents unseen. The rule: climb, claim, descend, without touching the floor once you've started. The twist: only 1 climber per plank, and not all bags hold rewards. Jonah takes the center plank, his broad reach giving him an advantage. Sophie moves to the far left, choosing the one with the closest first handhold. Amina eyes the second from right, but notices Victor's limp. Without help, he can't reach his starting rung. She offers a boost, not entirely altruistic. She wants to see what's in his bag. The climb is slow, the wood flexing under weight. Halfway up, Malik's absence is felt. His speed could have been an asset here. Jonah reaches his bag first, lowering it carefully before descending. Inside, 2 sealed bottles of water. Sophie's bag contains nothing but shredded paper. Victor's yield a roll of tape and a small flashlight. Amina's holds a folded note. Resources are currency. Currency is control. The room dims, a spotlight narrowing on the planks. The voice announces. When the lights return, the planks are gone, replaced by a conference table scattered with the recovered items. Water, tape, flashlight, and Sophie's empty bag lying like a verdict. Chairs appear for the first time, thin metal frames that groan when sat upon. The voice instructs them to set the wage. Each item must be priced in a currency of hours, and every player must buy something before they leave. Hours, they quickly learn, are measured in physical labor: cleaning, carrying, repairing. Jonah, holding the water, names his price at 10 hours per bottle, a steep but tempting offer. Victor values the flashlight at 8 hours, the tape at 5. Sophie, empty-handed, must bargain with promises, offering to share future gains for present relief. Amina refuses, stating plainly she will not buy on credit in a game where debt is another leash. The negotiation becomes a subtle autopsy of their desperation. Jonah lowers his price when no one moves. Sophie offers to clean in exchange for half a bottle, which he grants. Victor trades the flashlight to Amina for the note she received, curious about its cryptic tone. Once all trades are settled, the voice speaks. The market rewards both patience and exploitation. Record your choices. A screen flickers on, showing their names beside tallies of hours owed or earned. Some are in surplus, others already deep in deficit. The realization sinks in. This ledger will follow them. The door opens to another dim stairwell, the only way forward. The stairwell spirals downward, each step painted with a different word: trust, debt, truth, silence. They descend without speaking, their footsteps sinking into a rhythm like a slowed heartbeat. The next room is smaller, ceiling low, walls lined with safety deposit boxes. A digital clock above the door begins a silent countdown from 30 minutes. The voice: inside these boxes are truths you tried to bury. Retrieve them at your own risk. Keys hang from hooks, each tag with a name. Hesitation ripples through the group. Hands hover, but don't take. Sophie moves first, unlocking her box to find a printed email from her former department head, confirming her dismissal and hinting at personal misconduct. Her face hardens. She tucks it into her coat. Jonah opens his to reveal photos of his old crew, standing beside the machine that replaced them. Amina finds a client's handwritten plea she failed to file in time. Victor pulls out a hospital invoice, the total circled in red. The clock ticks louder, though it makes no sound. Some boxes remain untouched when the voice says, unclaimed truths will be assigned. The remaining boxes open on their own, revealing contents to the entire group: an unpaid child support order, a restraining notice, a foreclosure deed. Eyes meet and avert, shame and recognition flickering in equal measure. The countdown hits 0. The lights snap off, leaving only the glow of the clock, now reset to count up. The darkness lasts long enough to fray nerves, every shuffle magnified into accusation. When the lights return, the safety deposit room has transformed. Boxes gone, floor replaced by a grid pattern of metal plates. The voice: only some plates are safe. Step wrong, and you will be removed. No map, no clues, just the unspoken invitation to watch others fail first. Sophie steps forward cautiously, tapping each plate with her boot before committing her weight. The second plate tilts slightly, then locks back safe. Amina follows, reading Sophie's path and choosing an adjacent route. Jonah, impatient, tries to leap 2 plates ahead. One drops under his foot, and a blaring alarm fills the air. A section of the wall slides open, revealing a narrow chute. Jonah is pulled toward it by unseen force, his hands clawing at the air until he disappears. Silence follows, heavier than the alarm. The remaining players freeze, scanning for patterns, scratches on safe plates, dust disturbed where others have stepped. Victor advances slowly, muttering calculations under his breath. Sophie reaches the far side first, then extends her arm to Lale, guiding her final step. When all who remain are across, the voice. Observation is survival. Impulse is elimination. A panel opens, revealing a corridor lit in faint red, the air warmer, tinged with the scent of something metallic, like the breath before a storm. The red-lit corridor narrows until they must walk single file. The walls sweat condensation, dripping onto the floor in irregular patterns. The next space is a long, low hall with two doors at the far end, identical except for the symbols painted above them, a key and a chain. The voice. Only one door leads forward. Choose as a group. No further instruction. Debate sparks immediately. Sophie argues for the key as a metaphor for freedom. Victor claims the chain represents strength in unity. Amina stays silent, watching the shifting allegiances in their stances. Lala suggests they split, but the voice interrupts. The choice must be unanimous. Minutes drag. They begin trading personal philosophies, revealing more than intended in the process. Sophie admits her dismissal wasn't just budget cuts, but a faculty scandal she helped expose. Victor reveals he once testified against his company in a safety hearing. These admissions shift the tide. Amina proposes the chain, reasoning that survival here will not be individual. Reluctantly, the group agrees. The door creaks open, revealing not safety, but another challenge. A narrow bridge of steel grating over a dark, rushing void. The air smells of rust and ozone. As they step onto it, the grating flexes underfoot, and the sound of the unseen current below grows louder, like 1,000 whispers blending into a single warning they can't quite understand. Halfway across the bridge, a screen flickers to life at the midpoint, suspended from the ceiling by thin cables. On it, the face of a stranger, blurred, genderless, speaks in the same neutral voice. You may lighten your load to make the crossing easier. The more you discard, the safer the bridge becomes. It's an offer cloaked in threat. Amina slips the folded plea from her coat pocket, hesitating before letting it drop into the darkness. The bridge steadies slightly. Victor discards the hospital invoice, jaw tight. Sophie offers the eviction notice. Lala her crust of bread. Each release steadies the bridge more, but the decision cuts deeper. Their burdens are proof of their lives as much as weights to be shed. The voice offers no measure of safety gained, only the feeling of it. When they reach the far side, the bridge retracts behind them into the walls, vanishing without a trace. The next room is warmer, the air thick with the scent of yeast and something sweet. On a table at the center, 5 cups, each filled with a different colored liquid. A note beside them reads, "Only one will sustain you. The others will slow you down." No time limit is given. The players circle the table, studying the cups as though color alone could reveal truth. Somewhere beyond, machinery hums again, steady and patient. They choose in silence. Amina selects the deep amber, trusting the steadiness of its hue. Victor picks a pale green, associating it with medicine. Sophie takes the dark red, a gambler's instinct. Lala opts for the clear. And the 5th remaining player, eyes hollow with fatigue, drinks the opaque blue. The taste tells them nothing. Minutes later, consequences surface. Victor slows, his limp exaggerated, breath labored. The blue drinker sways, leaning on the wall. The voice, speed is advantage. You chose your pace. The door slides open onto a corridor lined with old clocks, each set to a different time, all ticking. The floor slopes downward, the air cooling until breath fogs in front of them. At the end waits another table, this one piled high with envelopes. Each bears a single player's name. Inside, they find photographs of themselves taken within the facility, crossing the bridge, standing at the market, even moments of hesitation captured in detail. Written on the back of each, a single word, like a label: hesitant, calculating, generous opportunist. The voice, these are not insults. They are forecasts. Defy them, and you change your trajectory. Fulfill them, and you become predictable. Predictable players are easiest to remove. The envelopes vanish into the table as if swallowed, leaving only the sound of the clocks, their rhythm now uncomfortably in sync with each heartbeat in the room. The next space is cavernous, the ceiling arched like a train station, though no trains run here. A long line is painted on the floor, dividing the room into two equal halves. The voice, stand where you belong. No categories, no guidance. The hesitation is immediate and suffocating. Sophie moves left without explanation. Amina steps right, watching to see who follows. Victor joins Amina. Lala goes to Sophie. The fifth player wavers, then drifts to Sophie's side. The voice waits until the arrangement feels permanent, then says, one side will decide the fate of the other. A panel on the floor opens, revealing a button beneath a transparent cover. Sophie's group receives it. Pressing the button, the voice explains, will remove the opposing side from the program. Not pressing it will force all to continue together, but with doubled challenges. Debate fractures quickly. Sophie argues for mercy. Lala fears the increased difficulty. The fifth player is silent. Across the line, Amina stares back without pleading, her posture daring them to act. The tension crystallizes into stillness. Finally, Sophie lifts the cover but stops short, palm hovering. The voice counts down from 10. At 2, she withdraws her hand. The floor closes, the line disappears, and the room empties into a single exit, forcing them together again. No one thanks her. The exit leads into a chamber shaped like an amphitheater, seats rising steeply around a central pit. In the pit stands a podium with 2 buttons, one red, one black. The voice, only one player may press a button. Red grants immediate exit with partial reward. Black advances all to the final stage with doubled stakes. The catch, they have 2 minutes to decide who presses. This time, alliances are explicit. Victor argues for Amina, citing her composure. Sophie nominates herself, claiming she can be trusted to choose for the group. Arguments overlap. Voices rise. The fifth player sits in silence, scanning the faces, calculating angles. Amina finally says, I'll take black. I didn't come here to leave half-finished. Her tone is steel. Her eyes leave no room for persuasion. The others exchange glances, weighing risk against relief. The voice warns, 30 seconds. In the end, they step back, giving her the floor. She presses black. The lights flare, the seats retract, and the pit floor becomes an elevator, rising slowly. Above, the ceiling opens to reveal a new space bathed in pale light. The air still, the silence absolute. The final stage awaits, its shape obscured by fog. The elevator locks into place, and the voice says, almost gently, welcome to the negotiation. The fog dissipates to reveal a long table with 7 chairs, though only 5 remain to fill them. In front of each chair, a folder rests closed. The voice, inside is the contract for your release. To sign, you must meet the conditions stated within. Some are personal sacrifices, others collective decisions. They open the folders in unison. Amina's demands she erase all legal claims against those who destroyed her firm. Victor's requires he work for the company that injured him. Sophie's demands public apology for exposing the scandal. Lala's requires her to return to the city she fled. The fifth player's orders relinquishing custody of a child. The weight is crushing. They discuss in hushed tones, trying to find loopholes. The voice reminds them, decline, and you leave with nothing. Accept, and the program ends. Hours seem to pass as they circle the same arguments. Amina refuses at first, then asks if anyone believes the world outside can be remade by leaving here intact. No one answers. Slowly, hands lift, contracts are signed, pens scratching like small executions. The folders vanish, leaving only the table and the lingering echo of their decisions. The final voice transmission is softer, almost human. The program thanks you for your participation. The system is complete when all players understand their place. A door opens, leading into the same municipal hall where they began. though now it's flooded with daylight. Outside, the city hums as before, traffic, distant sirens, the same indifference that fed them into the program's jaws. They walk out together, but not as allies. Each carries the weight of signed contracts like invisible shackles. Amina feels the absence of her claim like an amputated limb. Victor rehearses the posture of obedience he will need to survive his new employment. Sophie imagines her apology, how to speak without meaning it. Lala calculates how long she can hide in the city she once fled. The fifth player stares at the horizon, already hollowed. Behind them, the doors shut without sound, erasing any trace they were ever inside. Above, a camera lens turns once, then goes still. Somewhere deep in the building, envelopes fall into empty slots, waiting for the next round. The program doesn't end. It only resets, fueled by the certainty that desperation will always replenish itself.